Welcome to a Drop Tent Media production.
Hey, what's up? Today on Seriously Dead, we talk to a great friend of mine, Steve Bickel. We talk schooling, we talk education, we talk raising a child with special needs and how to navigate this entire maze. Check us out on Seriously Dead.
Seriously, Dad?
Seriously, Dad? Two father comedians out of Philadelphia. Seriously, Dad?
Dad? Seriously?
Dad?
Seriously? Seriously?
What's up? Seriously Dead. Big pleasure for me. A great friend of mine, great Philadelphia comedian, father of three, Mr. Steve Bickel, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I feel like a standing ovation would have been a little more appropriate.
dude,
I don't know what the fuck you two are doing.
Dude, I would stand for Steve.
Yeah,
too.
Steve Bickel deserves a standing ovation. One of my best friends. I think we probably started comedy on like the same day, right?
I'm just surprised to hear that you think we're so close. That's and I think that this podcast might just go in that direction of me explaining boundaries to you. And
See, there you go. That's my guy, Steve Bickel, father of three.
yes, that we know of.
Okay,
Age spread?
We got 11, 8, and 1. So there was
okay.
there was
There we go, ladies.
there was
go,
a
ladies
little
and
bit of
gentlemen.
a fuck up there. If you said it, yeah, we got the 1 year, and it's funny. I'm laying 1,200 square feet of floor in my house, and I'm doing that with 3 kids. So I mean, you can't wash dishes with 3 kids. So laying 1,200 square
Yeah.
feet of floor is going to take me roughly about 10, 11 years. And I was in there with the baby. Her name's Daisy, and she was just running around being one. And I'm laying this floor, and I'm looking up, and I'm like, and I looked right at her, and I was like, "You're not supposed to be here."
Just in general or in
Like,
the room?
No, in general. Like I'm like and I looked at my wife, who was she was shooting up at the time, and I was like, no. But I look over at her, and I was like, do you ever just look at her and go, we got a baby in here? Like I still have not adjusted to having, and I mean I've adjusted in the sense of like we love her. I mean, can't imagine a world. That's the thing
adorable.
about having kids, and everybody knows is once you have them, all the worry beforehand, you're like you can't imagine your
gone.
life without them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have like that existential surreal moment where I'm like, what are you doing here?
I thought this was a dream.
Like we were done. We
Yeah.
were so
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
We gave all the shitty clothes away.
Oh my
We
gosh.
gave all the toys away. We gave everything
Yeah,
away.
you right. Oh man, you can't.
And then we had to ask for all
All
those
it
clothes back with new stains on them. You just get the same clothes back, new stains. We're like, hey, remember that monitor we gave you? Yeah, we're gonna need that back. And
Wow.
it's way dated. It's like a fucking walkie-talkie at this point.
Just share your 7-year-old
Yeah.
sister's clothing at this point.
Yeah, they gotta push a button on the
Throw
side.
into it.
I'm struggling up here.
Throw into
Over,
Hey, choking.
over now. Roger that.
But no, it is. It's surreal, and I love it because I remember when my middle daughter went from 5 to 6. I was putting her to bed on the eve of her birthday, and I looked at her and I was like, and I got very emotional. I was like, oh, I'm never gonna have a 5-year-old again. And little did I
shit.
know that was a stupid fucking
Yeah.
statement.
Yeah, you walked into that one.
But it is because as they get older, that you're like, oh, you're never going to do that. And then the pandemic happened, and my slut of a wife. So we're sitting there watching reruns of NYPD Blue. Like early NYPD Blue.
Like when they showed Jimmy Smith's butt.
And you know what it was? It was fucking Sipowitz's ass.
Oh, no, not simple.
So she
Sipowitz's
comes.
bald dude?
No, but
Yeah.
seriously, in all honesty, we're sitting
The
on the
French.
couch, way apart because we're at that stage of our lives.
Yeah.
And she's on the other end. I'm on the other end. And I literally said, you know what? I'm going to go to bed. And she comes slinking over, bringing that stink over. Slinking over. And next thing you know, 9 months later, there's a
There
baby.
it is.
And
There
that
it
was our
is.
second scare. We had a scare right before that. And, I always said, and I said to Albert at the time, you always get the birth, like you always get the pregnancy test at the dollar store. And if it says it's negative, you're good. But if it says it's positive, you
go
buy
get
a
the
more
professional-
expensive one.
yeah,
You buy the more
professional one,
expensive one. But so I go to the dollar store and I get a couple of those dollar pregnancy tests, which work fine. They're a little shabby, you know.
Yeah,
there's some
They're like the
things-
magic 8-ball. Come back later.
You know, like when they press the plastic, but some of it's squeezed out the side, and they don't trim it off. They're just like it's in
Yeah,
there,
like whatever.
you know. But you pee on it, so what the hell? And I got one of those, and we had a scare, and I was like,
Actually, I think she's supposed to pee on it.
Right.
Oh, you pissed on it, bro? That's why it didn't work.
you know what?
I say you lost that baby weight.
You
You
beat
look
on
at
it.
Can
Yeah.
we stop this right now?
Gotta talk to my wife.
No, but I did. We
can't.
got that one. We had a scare before that, and I was like, oh. And then I think with Daisy, it was about 8 months, maybe to a year later, we had another scare. But I'm in that zone of like, we're just having scares now because I don't know when menopause starts, but I figured she was going through it, and I'm not looking dates up. I'm not good with that stuff. And then she was like, I'm pregnant, and I was like, oh. But I did promise myself that no matter what, I would always be positive towards that, even though she didn't make the same promise
So nice.
because she had a shit fit. And I got a vasectomy, which I was supposed to have before that. I got it during, like, I think her 3rd month, which is like getting car insurance after
I
you
was gonna
crash
say,
into
yes.
a wall.
Yeah.
Like you crash into a wall and then you call up Geico and you're like, I think I need car insurance. But yeah, I got, and that was her
this
birthday
retroactive?
present. I got
Actually,
her.
I don't have a vasectomy. I want to get one. I haven't got one yet, but
I could do that
I've
for
heard
you.
the reverse. We had someone that I
Probably
worked
put
with
in
that
fire.
had the vasectomy, but apparently it didn't hold, and they ended up having a kid.
Didn't take.
Didn't take.
Didn't take?
Those were not blanks. There's
Yeah,
like,
jeez.
Well, you got to go back. Well, that's the thing. I never did go back to check.
If it was,
Yeah,
oh,
I'm
you're
not
supposed to
doing
go
that.
back
That's
to
a whole
check.
nother. I got to drive into the city.
that's a whole
Get a
other
park.
thing. Yeah.
I figure
And now,
Dude,
it
if you
took.
get- all
But
right.
here's the best part about the vasectomy is I thought they cut your taint.
What?
No,
the perennial.
Okay.
I thought
All
they
right.
cut it-
right?
Hear me out. I thought they went through the taint,
Right,
and they
sure.
pulled it out, and they cut it, and everything.
Pull
So
what out?
The
Vas
tubes.
deferens.
Oh,
I think it's
okay,
fucking vas
okay.
deferens.
I'm
Don't
asking
get
you.
technical there.
Oh, yes,
That's what
you're right.
Church
brings
boy.
up-
Yeah, you're
yeah,
right.
yeah.
No, and I
That's
thought
some
they
fucking
pulled it out
mandatory.
through the taint,
Okay.
and they cut it, and because I went under, and I didn't want to wipe, so I was afraid to shit because I was like, I don't want to get shit on the
Right.
scar.
Totally.
You know, and then I noticed these 2 vampire bites on either side of my balls, and I was like, oh, they went through the balls, which
okay.
makes more sense now that I
Wait,
think
and
about it.
nope. Who is your doctor that they're not walking?
They didn't
The
even explain that
hairiest,
to
the
you?
hairiest guy I ever met in my life. Wait, he comes
The
into the
hairy
room.
doctor.
He
I
had a
want
tuft.
that guy.
He had a tuft. It looked like he stuck a toupee down the front of his shirt. It was a tuft. It went through his chin.
Oh, it had to curl up?
Yeah, it went
had
up
that-
through his
Oh,
chin. And
damn.
I, this little Italian guy, nothing
It's
against
got
the Italians.
malpractice written all over it. I'm sorry. That's got like, I'm going to.
He was so hairy.
like-
I woke up from the surgery and I was pulling the hairs out of my mouth. No,
This could have been your hairs. Who the fuck knows?
no, but yeah, so had the vasectomy after the baby. But yeah, no, it's been great. You know, it's
It's been great.
Dude,
It
you went up
7
an octave. Yeah. Jesus
That's the
Christ.
vasectomy.
You got to sell it harder.
It's really
than
good.
that.
It's really good.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
You are a
yeah.
good father. I've known you for a long time. You're a very, very good father. So congratulations there.
Well, don't let that out. I like to keep the,
Yeah, we want to keep that close to the vet.
my act depends upon people thinking I'm a horrible
shitty
father.
dad. Okay.
Well, not shitty, just constantly. Well, I guess I am constantly annoyed and yelling, but I don't say
But
the
that's
things
that's
I
who
say.
you are. You are constantly annoyed.
Yeah, I
and
am
yelling. You are
constantly
constantly annoyed and yelling. So it's not like
I've never seen him mad.
I've seen him annoyed and yelling all the time. I've never seen you mad though. That's true. But you're
Like
always
mad?
You're always something's bothering
No,
you.
because usually people who are annoyed and sort of always frustrated all the time, I don't think we're always there. So if we're here, that's like, that's a really bad
and
place.
people
to be.
avoid pushing you to those.
Yeah, I think so. I can be crotchety. I've come to
Yeah,
that.
yeah, we
I
know.
think I've mellowed out a lot as
Yeah?
I've gotten older. Yeah, I think
Does-
having
does-
kids has
does-
mellowed
does
me
the
out.
little one, does the newest baby have anything to do with you mellowing out?
Yeah, I
Nice.
think so. I think having Mia, my daughter who has special needs, I think that kind of helped me with patience, and that's what you call a segue.
Boom.
Right?
Steve
How about
Bickel,
it?
ladies and gentlemen.
Well, no, that's probably
That's why I
That's
get
why he's
all
here.
the big show.
That's right. No, but that was one of the reasons
can wear that
we're,
hat. He's-
we're
you're one of the
excited
guys
to
that
have
can
you
wear that
on
hat.
today because that was something that you and I share is Mia your firstborn?
Yes.
So saying, okay, so
Yeah.
now
Oh,
can
your
you tell
first-
us,
first
yeah,
one.
first
Okay.
one. Can you tell us a little bit about, because when we say special needs, and I know the same thing, like what, like nobody knows what we mean. I sort of when we say that because it's such a big umbrella.
Well, she's really annoying. So Mia has it was difficult because your daughter has autism, correct?
Yes.
So I
And
think with
ADHD.
I think with autism, and you learn all as you go. I think with autism, there's so much in place for that. It's. I mean, they're learning new things every day, but it's like if you're kind of put into that. What's the term I'm looking for? If you're kind of put into that pocket of autism or whatever for lack of a better term, there's a lot of things that are set up for that. Mia, they didn't know what the hell was wrong with her, and they still kind of don't know what the hell was wrong with her. She technically, if we were in like 1950, they would say, well, she's slow.
Yeah.
They would say she's slow.
Yep.
But what we do know is she's not autistic. So that kind of, and that's almost a negative thing because it's like I said, they have so much set up for autism
There's a
that
lot
when
of
they're not
awareness
autistic,
now.
they're like, well, we ain't got shit for that. Like, we don't know what
We
the
haven't
hell.
studied that long enough to
Yeah.
know the
Yeah,
answer.
well,
for
not
it.
everywhere, but yeah, and I know what
Yeah.
you're saying.
She has, audio processing delay. The closest thing that she had when she was an infant, because we realized at around 2 when she wasn't really speaking, it took her forever to learn to walk, everything. But, it's like, you don't know anything. So you're like, hey,
Yeah.
some kids are just takes them a little bit
Yeah,
longer.
that's the
Exactly.
question I always had.
And then when she was 17 and still not walking, we were like, no, we looked into
But-
it. No,
That's the question I've always had is like, does at some point you go, there's something's not quite.
That's what I was
oh,
yelling.
what we
your
think.
family will let you know.
Oh, is that?
Well,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
you
your
notice,
family
like, I mean, I would scream her name. She'd be like sitting right there watching. I'd be screaming her name, and she wouldn't even turn to look at me.
Mm-hmm.
And but then if you said the right thing, like her favorite character, TV Chica was the Chica show at that time, she would turn on a dime. And so then I realized, she was hearing, but she just had an intense ability to block out, tune out. And then my daughter didn't talk till she was almost 5 and didn't
Okay.
potty train till she was 5.5, almost
Same here.
6.
And
Same
when
here.
did you find out that she was autistic?
We, as early as 18 months, my wife went to school to be a special ed teacher, worked in an autism support. So we saw stuff like her when she would get really excited, she'd be up on her tippy toes.
Yeah,
or
the
you
toes.
could see little
And Mia did that
things.
too. And Mia exhibited a lot of signs of autism. But
There's really the sensory stuff, how they're
one
processing.
thing was with Mia is that she was, and all the doctors early on were like, well, she's too personable. She's too like she wanted to be around people.
Yeah.
And they were like, that's
Oh,
not
wow.
really exhibiting
Nope.
signs
Yeah,
of
Alicia
autism.
was like in the
They're
corner,
Like, this,
like,
this, and
wow,
this.
okay.
Autism. They're like, but she
But
is
that
just the
is a little-
friendliest. Wants to
Yep.
get up there and know everything. And they're like, that's not. And she makes too much eye contact, and she's too.
Yep.
So, but she essentially had. It's an audio processing delay, which is if you think of dyslexia, but if you think of it for speech, where she knew. So she has recall issues. So the best way it's been explained to us is she knows what you're saying, but like if I said to you, how many fingers am I holding up? And to you, 2 comes into your mind and everything. So she knows it's 2, but it's almost like a slot machine going in her
Yep.
mind.
I
And
understand.
2's in there, but
Yep,
it's
it's
also
not
in there
coming
with
out.
about 17,000 other things.
Okay.
So now, and that's, very sad to think of, somebody struggling with that. So basically what a lot of her therapy entails is getting her to, she's never going to, I think, and as a parent, when you have a kid with an issue like that, you're hoping for like that magic bullet, like something's going to click and,
it'll
it's
grow
just
out of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you realize, well, it's not going to click. She's just going to have to, like someone with dyslexia, learn to live her life with this. And so that's kind of where we're at is, so she didn't talk, same thing. She talked in gibberish, I think, until about 4. And then it was kind of gibberish mixed with single words. Potty training was 5 years of potty training.
Dude,
You did the naked training.
The
Did you do-
15-minute. We lived our life in 15-minute cycles for like
Really?
a year.
For potty
It's-
Like
training?
we had
brutal.
to bring one, like the little potty on the car with us, and everywhere we go, we'd pull off the side of the road, and you'd
Did you
stop.
do, we did the naked weekend.
Yep, you're
wears
just in the bathroom with the
naked all
toys.
weekend.
Peeing all
When
over.
she's got to go, you know.
You have a
and-
potty in almost every.
And then I
scenario.
have my middle daughter Stevie, who at 1 just went and sat on it by herself one day, and
Yep.
I went
Yeah.
and she basically was potty trained slightly before Mia, and I think maybe I don't know.
I thought you were going to say me. Yeah.
Well,
Sorry, dumb
depends
joke,
on
dumb.
Yeah,
depends on the
night.
weekend. No,
But
before
sorry,
Mia.
could you guys explain to the naked weekend thing? I don't know what
So
that
you
is.
just basically you're getting yourself
You're not
ready
going
so
anywhere.
that you're not going anywhere. You're naked and you're ready to just so that when the urge, because you're trying to teach them to read the signals that say, "Oh, I got to poop." And what happens is if they're not wearing a diaper and all of that, like they get comfortable with that.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, if they're not wearing a diaper, and then all of a sudden it happens, and then they're gonna step in it or whatever, like
Yeah,
Right.
they
all
feel
of
the
a sudden
pain,
it's
they
a
feel the
bit.
pain
There's
of
more
it.
Now-
consequences.
but the
to
thing
it,
is-
and you're hoping to register.
Got you.
And I don't know if you did
Interesting.
this, but we did it totally wrong the first time. And Dana, my wife, and I were naked
You
the
were
whole
naked
weekend,
the
and
whole
she
way.
wore clothes. And then somebody was like, "That's not
No,
the way
that-
to
that-
do
I would
it."
make
that's
that mistake.
traumatizing.
The kid-
That's not
No, it-
burberizing.
So you'll agree with me. These kids are master manipulators.
Yeah.
They know their limitations and they will manipulate around that. So the diaper will become a crutch. It will
Okay.
become they like Mia knows what her limitations are and will play into that to get out of doing stuff.
And that's a perfect because when the speaking thing for us was the longest thing like she ever, and I'm a language guy, so I was like, I'm dying for her to speak. It's now been like 4.5 years,
Yeah.
And then we got to the point where finally they were giving her what was called like a pegboard, so it was like a little menu with little Velcro things, and so then she puts out the things that she wants. So as soon as we were like, well, I guess we have to do this with her so that she can show us what she wants, and then as soon as we gave her that, she's like, I'm not doing this stuff, and she just started talking.
Yeah.
Because it was
So
like
wait,
it was almost like you had to call
if
their
something's
bluff.
harder, it's almost like give them something harder.
oh,
They'll do
she'd
the
tell
easier
herself.
thing, or
And then
make the
she's
easier
like,
thing what you
fine,
want them to do.
I'll give in. I'll do
Yeah.
it.
So you both have kids with special needs, and you have kids without special needs. How much more of a challenge is it?
It's like Anna
you
and
do,
Elsa. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like this concept of like you have this one who has like these different abilities, and then the other one who's like my youngest, you know, is neurotypical, I guess is the word, and neurodivergent are like the two sort of
Yeah.
buzzwords on how you explain to get away from the like the 1950s where they would have just called them slow. Now we're like, oh, they're not neurodivergent. I think it's interesting because my youngest, anyway, she has a ton of empathy. She loves her older sister, adores her older sister, looks up to her older sister, but she also has to watch her older sister because her older sister is so caught off by sensory stuff. She'll see a butterfly and run in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Katie, her younger sister, will be grabbing her and pulling her in. Or like when Alicia started talking, she would grab phrases. They do what's called scripting, where she'll grab a phrase from a book or a show and start repeating it, hoping to use it appropriately.
Okay.
But sometimes she'll hear stuff that isn't. So she'll say a phrase she was going around for a while saying, if you crowded her and tried to hug her, she would be like, "Stop, you're killing me." And now my 3-year-old at the time was saying to her, "Lisa, you can't say that. You have to say you're hurting me."
Oh,
So
Maybe
like
somebody
Right.
was actually killing her.
that's
though,
I feel it regularly. I'm like
I
killing
think-
them
Talked about
with my-
shit. We talked about shaking.
I
I'm
think
just saying.
Yeah.
I think the biggest difference for me is that, you know, Mia has special needs and her immediate next sister Stevie is an asshole. So
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
she doesn't have the empathy for her.
I'm not going to
No.
call her that, but
Okay.
I know both. Yeah,
so
yeah,
so
she's-
you always hope when you have a child with special needs that you have this advocate for them. That is not my middle daughter. She
Okay.
is
You don't think when push
constantly-
comes to shove, like, and like they're like 4 or 5 years down the road, and
When they-
they're on the
they're
playground,
like
you don't
14,
think
they're like
Steve's
14.
gonna
I
lay
can't
someone out
predict
for
the
her?
future, but she
when
is.
they're like 14, yes.
Stevie is.
Yeah.
So Stevie's an old soul. She came out grimacing. She's constantly angry, and she got no time for anything.
She's a Bickel. So she's
yes,
a Bickel, is
yeah.
what you're saying.
So
yeah.
she has no patience for her sister. No patience
for
her.
now, but that'll change.
It might.
That's
That'll
interesting.
change,
Well,
that'll
the
change.
thing is hopefully it will change, but it might not because
Right.
I grew up on a block where it was 7 sisters, the Mangelis, and it was the Mangelis, and no, but they had 7 sisters, and one of them had Down syndrome, and you had the sisters that were clearly advocates for her. One of them went into teaching special needs children, things like that. But then the sister that was closest to my age, who I'm still friends with today, didn't have any patience.
Wasn't
for
there for it.
it.
Yeah.
Now she's good to her sister now, but still, it's not like she's not And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
no
yeah.
like, well, you have to be that.
I would agree with
That's
that.
a good
Like,
point.
you don't
No,
have
that's a
to
good
take
point.
You
care
know,
of,
it's you want that, but if you don't get that, you can't force somebody to be what they're not.
Or like
You can
alter their
understand,
life,
yeah.
right?
Like that's how I feel about her peers. Like when I think about my daughter's
Oh, yeah,
peers,
oh,
I feel like like for the kids who
That's
like
tough.
hang
Get
tough
it.
with
They
her,
get it.
and like try to really play with her and try
Yep.
to go back and forth with how impulsive she is. God bless those
Yeah.
angels.
You see that,
You know
and
what I
it's
mean?
funny you brought that up because me and my wife talk about that all the time. We know within a second if this is the kid for Mia or if not.
Because like is Mia's school age now, right?
Oh yeah,
What
I
grade?
mean she's 11. She's technically
she's in,
in
like-
like 6th grade.
Okay.
I mean, she just went into a graded school. Because we moved, she was in special needs school that we basically sued the city of Philadelphia every year to get them to pay for.
It's amazing what you have to go through.
You go through that
I
shit.
just- I just-
That's a whole nother podcast.
Two weeks ago, I just was going to bat for because they were trying to. We have an outside agency. We have a woman who or an aide that comes in because when we first went into kindergarten, Alicia wasn't potty trained, and that wasn't okay. Like you can't
Yeah.
do that. So that, but the aides the school would provide were like, yeah, we can't do that. We can't go into the bathroom. So then we had to go to an outside agency, apply for all this stuff, get this insurance through the state to pay for it.
Wow.
And now we have an ABA who can come into our house, the community, or school.
And you apply for that every year.
And we have to apply. We have to go through all of that. Now it's
Yeah,
been,
I
and
remember you.
Oh,
telling me
yeah,
about
I-
that.
and
I
so
know.
that person came. So now all of a sudden she's in 3rd grade. They're trying to get us to not use the agency anymore, and they want us to use one of the in-house people because it's easier for them with scheduling.
Because it costs
and-
someone money.
and it's an
probably what
outside
it comes
agency,
down
so
to.
now they have to consult with someone who's not part of them.
Oh, there's
And
so much. I mean,
but it's like one of
like I
those
said,
things that
that-
I don't care
that's their
because
problem. Figure it the fuck
that's
out.
what-
right?
that's
That's-
exactly
that-
it.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Well, you're right. That
to
is,
do
because
of,
it is.
of what
But you
you
have to
deal
go
with
to bat for the kids.
school-wise. I mean, we sued the school district of Philadelphia every year, and it cost us a lot of money for them to basically agree to pay for what she needed, but they would take it to the wire every year just to dick around with us. Just to dick around with us, just to cost us $15,000 in lawyer fees, just to finally go, okay, we'll give you another year. Okay, we'll give you another
So
year.
the public schools are not set up for special
Well, they
needs.
they,
No,
they
they
say it as an
are-
option, but they're gonna make you work.
Well,
Now, why
thing-
the fuck would they do that? Does anyone have the answer? Like,
Yes.
what?
It
Is
costs
that
money.
Money.
So it's like it costs money. So they're like, well, let's push it
$85,000 a year is what my daughter's
to
school
to give
costs.
the extra needs and things like because
Now I'm gonna tangent off right here. I'm gonna tell you.
Oh,
This is why. This
we
is
zoom
what-
in on you at this point?
This is why I don't fucking like professional sports.
Oh, okay.
This is why I don't like professional sports. No, I'm serious.
tied together.
I'm tied. It's being tied.
Yeah.
Tone. I almost said tone. Like people love the Eagles. They love the Eagles, and this entity has so
they?
much fucking money. It has so much money, and people go to the end of the world to eat horse shit and climb up the flagpoles and all that dumb shit that they do when they win. Do they do anything
those
to
are the people
help?
with special needs.
Do they do anything to help this? Because this sounds like a gigantic hole in the system. Like this is.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
fucking
but that's
preposterous.
I mean,
You're just not going to
so
pay
what
for
you're
people?
saying is,
And like, why are they?
let
Are
me
they
tie it
donating-
together. Let me tie it together.
No, it's been
The
toned.
school
I
district
keep on saying
failed
toned.
because the
No,
person
no,
eating
what
horse
I-
shit
No.
was
what
a
I'm
failure
saying-
of the school
what I'm
district of
saying is,
Philadelphia.
I would
That's
be
what I
more
heard.
of a fan. I would be more of a fan of sports and shit like that if I knew that every year the Eagles donated
They
$60
probably do.
million
They might.
to the city.
But there's
You're
just
right.
so the umbrella's so
and
big.
are the Phillies donating because they have more money than anybody.
I agree with Albert.
What-
Because
you know-
every time I see somebody like this is what we need.
Yeah, but
that
I
we
don't-
need to win this. We need to have this.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, we need to fucking have your daughter
Yeah,
have the
and like,
correct
and here-
amount of.
and here
Oh,
you are
there's
in
the
school.
money is there.
The money's there.
The
It's
money
just
is there.
There's just you just
There's
have
a
to play a
person.
game.
There's a person. Okay, and I won't name names, but her first name starts with Tanya, and her. So she is the special needs director for the school district of Philadelphia. Her job is essentially what her job is she's given a big pot of money at the beginning of the school year, and her job is ranked and rated by how much of that money is left at the end of the school year. So take all special needs out of it, take the kids out of it. Her job is basically judged
protect
by
the pot.
how much money is
She's
left.
saved.
So where she can cut it. I've sat across, and I'm sure you have, from absolute evil people whose only job is to keep children with special needs from getting the services
feel that way
they
too?
Well,
need.
here's where it's difficult for me because we are employees of the district at it. So I
Oh,
sat in a
shit, that's
meeting,
right. Oh,
and I'm
yeah.
sitting next to my essentially boss, who's a principal, and the person who's the head of special ed, who's been a friend who I've taught with and was a high school teacher when I first started.
Uh-huh.
And so I know those people, and I have a different view because I can imagine I'm in a smaller rural district.
Right, you're in
He's
a
the city
different
of
you're in a different
Philadelphia.
district, yeah.
It's a different
They come
beast. I
loaded
would
for
not.
bear.
I don't envy him, but even still, like I sat in this meeting with that person, and I'm like, I know you, but right now I don't feel like I know
Yeah.
you.
You're treating
and I
me-
had
you're
to
treating-
do Papa Bear voice, and I had to do things like because it was like a weird scenario where they invited just me and my wife to a meeting, and it was like, okay, but where's our team? Like, where's her teacher and her special needs teacher and the aide? I'm like, oh, so my email back was just like, hey, we'd love to meet on Tuesday. Can we get the team in on this? And I said, team.
Okay.
And they respond back, oh, yeah, we'll get coverage for teachers. And I'm like, okay. So then Amanda chimes in and says, okay, well, what about the ABA aid? And other than that, they ghost us. The next Tuesday comes because I said to them, I want the whole team there so we're not doing this third party, he said, she
yeah.
said stuff. It comes, and now all of a sudden the teachers are there, the agency's there, and now they're talking about the agency. Well, we haven't heard from the agency. Well, that's why we said that we should be here right now. And they pretended like they had no idea. And that's when I was like,
Yeah, they
don't mess with me. Like,
that
don't
mess up
do
your
that to
relationship
me.
with your employer
It hurt
and
me personally because I was like, you must think I'm an idiot.
Well,
like,
here's the thing. So with Philadelphia, they're used to steamrolling people and getting people that don't have the means and don't know what they're doing because of whatever reason to sign away their basically their child's education because that's what they do. They show up, they make all these lies, and they're clear lies and everything. But see, me and my wife, first thing is like, one, I'll never sign anything and never have. I won't sign a thing. I shouldn't have to sign anything for my daughter to get an education.
Agreed, 100%.
They have what's called FAPE, free and public education.
Yeah.
That is the law
so
of our land.
when they want you to sign stuff, it's usually, and labels are another thing. Like, I have a theory that labels never help the person being labeled. They only help the people labeling
The bureaucracy.
to
somebody.
like put it in a
that's
neat
setting-
little
Because-
box so
yeah.
that they can.
Yeah.
So if you want to, if right off the bat you want to label somebody and you want them to sign away on that, well, I'm usually not good with that because so what you're saying is you'll teach my child as long as you can label her something. Well, I'm not fine with that. What do you they gave labels to a lot of people throughout history that
Yeah.
did not go well for those
Right,
people.
right. Usually doesn't end well, does it?
But it's a very look. It's an evil system. I sat across people. My daughter now, she's 11. She still can't read. She still can't write. And they swore up and down, these are people that went to school to help children with special needs and said she didn't need occupational therapy. She didn't need speech. And I sat there and went, the janitor knows she needs occupational therapy.
Now, is this
And
like,
you went to school. But here's the
Yeah.
thing. How much would it take you to sell your soul for that? Because I know how much they make. And holy shit, you're doing this for that much money. You're doing this for like 60 grand a year. You're keeping children with special needs. And you went to school for this. So at one point, it's almost like the politician where you're like, at one point,
You
you
were
wanted to
trying.
help
Here for-
society.
You were trying.
And then when did you sell your soul? I looked at the person and I said, the woman, she couldn't even make eye contact with me. And I'm like, how dare you? I was like, how can you sit across here and say that and never
They
said a
have-
word?
and do they do like Mr. Bickel, please? Could you not? They don't do that.
Some
They
of
let
them
you talk?
do, but the ones that you really get to and you go, wow, you're doing this for like 60 grand a year. You're keeping children from getting services that they need.
Are
Now
these
wait,
meetings
so I'm
like-
gonna step in and play a little devil's because
Oh,
I
there we go. We got a
feel
DA,
for him and I
devil's
know where he's
advocate.
at.
Wait, Devil's what? I don't
Devil's
know.
advocate.
Oh, advocate.
Devil's assistant. But like as someone within it, I think what happens this is what I honestly think that happens. That person gets in with that, like you said, like the politician does. They get in with the best of intentions, and then the system itself.
Wears them the fuck out.
Well, then get out.
but-
Go work at McDonald's.
that's a good point.
But I've already got $100,000 in debt. And McDonald's isn't going to
not
help me
paying
pay
for
that
that.
off,
No,
and now
but
I got summers
know-
off.
Hey,
I
managers
understand-
at McDonald's make more than 60
Right,
grand a
you're
year.
right. They
I
do.
understand what both of you are saying.
But here's my thing. I think what happens is the system eats you alive because now you're sitting in meetings all day and you had no idea. I had a friend who out of school wanted to do finance, and the only job he can get out of school was J.G. Wentworth. And he was so excited. He got the job. He did not realize he was going to be doing overnight shifts for when all of the people were seeing those commercials at 2 a.m. and were calling in to sell. And his job was to get those people to commit. And I watched it eat him alive. And I think that you get into it thinking it's going to be one thing. You've invested your career. You've invested almost a decade of your life getting to that position.
I get that.
But you know what?
But like, what Steve's saying, and I agree, is like, then stand up in the meeting and say something, like scream at the top of your like fight for this, because it was important to you at one time.
Yeah,
this is all you wanted to do. You wanted to take out $100,000 of loans so you could do this, and then you got there, and this was. And
they might want to stand up for their kid, and they might want to, but they also want to go feed their kid.
Your
home.
job actually becomes the absolute opposite of what you got into it for. I mean, I don't know.
And they have to go to sleep
I don't know any other job where. There are jobs like that where it's like, imagine if by simply doing the job, you wound up doing the complete opposite of what you got into the job for.
Yep.
And I think being, a little older now and everything, go do something else.
Yeah.
I worked in a job that I started hating. Go do something else.
Right. The world is your oyster. Go do something else.
I can't imagine somebody, and I understand where you're coming from, and I agree with you, but I can't imagine if at your core you were like, I want to help children with special needs, and then your job actually becomes hurting children with special needs. That is absolutely.
And you tell yourself
crazy.
They must tell themselves a different narrative.
When you guys go to,
they must.
They must.
When you guys go to the meetings,
I help
is it
these
like,
10, but I
guys,
can't over that one.
One at a time, please.
when you guys go to the meetings, I love how I won that one. Yeah, guys, when you go to a meeting, is it like you're talking to like a panel of people? Or is it like you talking to one person who's like the person? Or is it like
panel.
So it's like the guidance counselor of the school and the principal of the school and the
an
superintendent
LEA or whatever.
And are they all talking with the same tone, or is there ever someone on that side of the thing who's like, I mean, he does have a point, guys, right?
They won't say anything.
No, they know going in because they do enough of these meetings.
So just
they know going in
shut up
how
and
this
support
goes. They know the
team.
pushback they're going to get. It's like being a divorce lawyer or whatever. Like, going in, it's not going to be an easy goer. If like you're in a bar show where they won't turn the TVs off, it's going to be a tough go.
Right.
Seriously, Dad.
We'll be right back.
Seriously?
What could they say?
Her kindergarten
do it
teacher.
right?
They can't say.
Her kindergarten teacher was very on board and knew what was happening was wrong. So she kind of just sat in a corner with her head down, like silently sobbing. Like, they're not going to stand up and do like that big speech, but there are people on your side that are like, hey, you're getting railroaded. I'm not going to say that in the meeting, but
I know.
But
that
I'm
this
letting
is
you
wrong.
know beforehand, like, don't sign anything. This is wrong. But see, me and my wife are. My wife is a fighter, and she's a huge advocate, and you're not going to get anything over on us, and we know how to be in these meetings. I'll go in there and I won't say a word, and I'll just stare at one person, and I make them all very uncomfortable, and I let them know right off the bat, I treat it like you're a car salesman. Like, I know you're lying to me the whole time. I'm going to let you do your whole act. And then I'm going to tell you what I think is a
really
complete lie, and and I just make them uncomfortable. It's and you got to go in there like that. If they want to go in there like, oh, we're all friends, I don't give them any of that.
Yeah.
I don't go in there like, hey, when they start acting that way, I just stare right at them blankly.
They try to start it with
Well,
like,
and
the,
my-
hey,
oh,
welcome, thank
And
you
my
so
wife,
much.
my wife and I have a very similar plan. Like, she's a learning support teacher. Her job is to write these plans in the same way. So she is very in tune, and they know that because she's employed.
How lucky are you? Yeah,
it must be a very weird scenario for them being in the meeting with us.
They have a plan for that.
But you know what I mean? But at the same time, like, personally, knowing that they know us personally, they know. And I say point blank, I'm the guy that'll just say it flat out like it is. Like, when they were talking about not having this agency, I'm like, I said, I'll be honest with you. I feel like you're flashing gang signs here. I feel like we didn't invite them because they weren't wearing the right colors and we didn't want them on our team. And now, but hey, when we first got them, it was because you wouldn't play ball with us and you wouldn't do the things we needed. So now we got them in our life, and she's with Alicia 365 days. You're with us 180. So I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater because it might because they were pitching to us like, well, we're having a hard time like getting subs on days they call out. I'm like, well, that sounds like a you problem.
That's a you problem.
Yeah.
So, but so our plan when we go in is Amanda's not confrontational. She doesn't not want confrontation in her life.
I love
but
confrontation.
She's
Yeah, it's
really good with the reading the IEP, knowing what's supposed to
that's
be
how
in
my
there.
wife is.
So we have that conversation before going in, and it's my job to
So
go
you're
in and be
back
the
up.
bulldog.
She's good cop, bad cop.
I go in
Yes.
because I'll say
And I do the
anything. I
same
will
thing.
say them and honest, and I'm smart enough guy that like they know they can't.
Does it affect your relationship at all? Because it's your
Well, it
employer,
makes
right?
it weird. It makes certainly for me, and I'll say it. I say it point blank. I said this. I got to admit, guys, this is very weird. Like I work here, and I have to separate between being right now. I'm a father, and I
tomorrow
have
I'm
to
a teacher.
separate
Well,
that. You know,
Let me just say this
is
is much like the car salesman. What most parents don't realize is you actually have the upper hand.
you do.
You start
They
out
will,
on top.
like the car salesman, they try and flip that power dynamic to
Oh,
where.
wow.
Yes,
But if you go in and just like I love buying cars, I love buying cars.
bet you- you're
I
someone who
love
would-
buying
You're
cars.
someone who would love buying cars.
And because I go in there and I do everything to make them uncomfortable, and I bring the kids in and I tell them to act the fuck up. No, I do. I tell them to act up. I never sit down. I never test drive the car. I don't do any of the things that normal people do because it throws them off their game. But the same thing in these meetings is, I know I have.
It's great.
No,
That's
I don't
a very
test drive the
smart
car.
move. Yeah, don't.
Know what I say to them? No, you know what I say? I
No,
say
I
I've
wanna
driven a
know.
car before. I
Yeah.
know what they drive like.
Yeah.
I go, once we make a deal, then I'll go test drive
Yeah.
the car. But I also don't sit down. So that
Yeah.
makes
just
them
makes them
really weird.
uncomfortable.
And they go sit down and I go,
Can you
no,
bring,
I'll stand.
Can you bring your daughter? Can you bring your daughter to the meetings?
I love.
What's that?
Could you bring your daughter to the meetings for the school?
No, they could probably say something to that. But my point being is that you have the upper hand. They're trying to sell you on a load of shit. That doesn't mean you got to buy it.
Yeah.
And is like not signing anything right off the bat. That throws them off because they're like, well, what do you mean you're not going to sign it? I don't need to sign that for you to give her
Right.
an education.
Yeah.
I don't need to sign that. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna paint us into a box.
Yeah, because their whole strategy is avoid lawsuit, stay out of court.
Yeah,
Right.
pretty much.
Dude, this
Because they
is-
know at the end of the day, if they mess up and they don't do everything in the order they're supposed to do, and that's the hard thing about special education and learning support teachers, because God bless the ones who are on the front lines and writing those IEPs and not the administrators who,
The teachers are the best.
like, you know what I mean? But they're
in the
feeling
trenches.
that pressure of they're the ones who have to write that document. And that's a shame that my wife has to write these legal documents, and there are guys with the same amount of pay playing volleyball
Yeah.
all day, and she's here doing meetings after school, writing paperwork, getting the same amount of money through the people who have disdain for her to ask for input on a form because they have that kid in class, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, well, they hit a volleyball, okay."
Are they elected No, are they elected officials? The school board people?
School board is.
They're
School
elected
board is.
officials.
well, that's
But they're
the
very
school
far
board.
removed.
They're not the
from that
administrators.
meeting.
Yeah.
They're very.
You're not
far-
talking. You're not
You're-
talking.
These
they're
are
very-
administrators.
no,
these
no,
are people
these are-
who are.
Do you ever get a chance to talk to those people and tell them? And
I mean, as people of the district, you could go voice your opinion at a school board meeting. You get
Okay.
public comment. You get 3
I
minutes.
shuffleboard on Tuesdays though. So,
that really. Yeah, I've heard that of it. It's
I
I
really
think
can't.
Steve gave like a big thing with the idea that her whole job is to keep money
that's
away
what it
from.
is. That's-
So
Well, there
how-
are incentives like within a business because it's almost like
Yeah,
it's being treated
yeah.
as a business. It's kind of like the office when they're like, "Oh, Michael, you got to use the surplus, otherwise, like they're getting a bonus for saving money."
So we know what
of
the problem
district.
is.
they're not avid. No matter what they say, they're not avid kids for children with special needs.
Right.
They're
Because their goal would be we don't have enough money. We need to get
advocates
more
want
money.
Right.
That's
right,
the
right,
point.
right. We need
they're
to get.
advocates for the district,
Right.
And you know, so you're not dealing like I won't call them heartless people, but they're not in it for the same reasons as the teacher might
Yeah.
be. But they also manipulate that teacher a lot
Well, 'cause-
to write things in a certain way
Right.
that will
We
make
do this
it,
all the time.
You know, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
where
yeah.
they beat the teachers down. The teachers are great if they're allowed to be great. You know, and what it really comes down to is it's a lot of program stuff. It's like your child needs these programs. They need so much of this, so much of that.
or they need special equipment, or
and
they
what they're
need
trying to do
whatever.
is cut it back, cut it back, cut it back. So, okay, let's say my daughter needs 3 hours of speech a week. Okay, what they're trying to cut it back to is an hour because they're paying for that person
Right.
to come in. And let me tell you something. City of Philadelphia, think of how big of a district that is.
Right.
2 occupational therapy
I
teachers.
mean, that sounds
2
like the gigantic.
for an entire district. That is, I mean, how many
I-
thousands and thousands of kids are in that
100,000
district?
kids.
And they have 2.
Like, I
And
think
they-
there's 700,000 students. I applied for a
There's
job.
700,000
Oh, you're
students.
so glad you didn't get
My
that.
mom's an
Yeah.
occupational therapist. You're telling me there's only two occupational therapists for
Float
this
around the
entire
entire
district?
city of Philadelphia.
Do better, Philadelphia. That is fucking horrible.
I will say so.
That is
well,
horrible.
how about outside of school?
And it's a
So,
$1 billion. I think they're over $1 billion on
in
their
terms
budget.
of, they're like the 7th largest in the U.S.
and it's
or
the
something.
one of the most poorly run school districts in the country with that much money.
I mean, it
Now, but
sounds
what
like
about
it.
what about outside programs? Do you do any, like, so is Mia involved? Like, our daughter
she
does
has a
just, like,
private
baseball.
tutor. She has so Mia has a private tutor on Saturdays that comes through. And then what do you mean? Like just doing
Like, well, we do. My daughter does special needs baseball. She does special needs cheerleading. Like, so there's places like we run through the Little League, a challenger. I was just sending an email out before the show that we start practices. Like every Thursday, we have an hour and a half practice, and then a game on Sunday where we play other teams that have special needs kids. So we get a buddy. Every kid has a buddy. They're able to play at whatever ability, whether it's hitting off a tee or doing whatever. So like I have 2 days a week where I know she's out and interacting with other kids, getting to be a kid, getting to play
she does
baseball, getting
special needs spot welding, and
I've heard good
so
things.
we take her down to the Navy Yard every Sunday. And what she does is she heat rivets.
No, but I'm serious, man.
Submarines. We
Because like, this is where I become, because I can't control the school stuff. So
Yes.
then what I said is like I want her to have a
you
normal
know what?
life as
I'll
best as
talk to you.
possible.
I'll talk to you off air about. No, we have had her in nothing special needs, but just I think we tried to mainstream it, and it went like so. She's done dance and all that stuff.
Yeah, I
and
know
everything.
just Girl Scout. Yeah, we have a good portion of normal. Like she does Girl Scouts that are just girls. She was selling cookies today for an hour and a half with my wife at a local cafe. So like
Beautiful.
she does girl. We try to mainstream her as much as possible. When it came to stuff like I love baseball, so it was like I wanted to share that with her, and so we started the league with another.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? I never. I honestly am not. I wasn't
Yeah.
aware of those.
Well, and we didn't either. They have a program called High Five Soccer that she does where they match them up with a buddy, and it's like once a week, and they run that. There's a special needs cheerleading. So like,
Now, who's putting that together? That's
so
that's
a lot of
private
these,
entity?
so a lot of the organizations that have normal rec leagues, if you have enough of people in the area that are special needs, like our baseball program started with 5 kids, we now have 14 on our roster. So over the last 4 years since we started the program, word's gotten out on some of those others where there's parents out there who didn't think it was even a thing.
Yeah,
or
I didn't think it was a
possible.
thing.
And
I mean,
there
I never
is
heard.
an amazing amount of rec leagues for stuff for now kids where it's inclusive, and now the kids who play on the regular teams when they're not playing, they come and they be our buddies. They stand next to the kid because
Oh,
if the
that's
kid
cool.
if the kid can't really pay attention or he's picking dirt, somebody needs to stand in front of them. But the parents get to sit in the stands and just be parents and watch their kid play, because when you're a special needs parent who they always have to be hands on, you know, we had talked about it in an episode with Mel Harris about drinking at children parties. That's harder for people like Steve and I, because if our daughters are there, we got to be on me and Alicia to make sure that they're okay. Because that might be the time when they need us to help them interact with kids or whatever. I'll speak for my own daughter, but
I wanted to ask this question when we're talking school districts. Is there a school district that you know of that is good at this?
Yes.
I mean,
Like
I will say
who's-
my school district
Downingtown-
does an
Downingtown's
amazing.
great. Yeah.
O&J's, like, so I will say, like,
but
they
then
do
you're
an
also
amazing
talking
thing.
big money
Sheesh,
too.
to-
I mean, Downingtown. So we were looking when we were moving to. So when we moved, here's another thing about having a special needs kid. When we were moving from the city, we didn't base our move around where we wanted to live. We had to base our move around school districts because you can't. You can't take a child with special needs and go, okay, well, this is a great area. We always wanted to live there. But then you go, well, it's not necessarily a shit school district, but you talk
for
because
you.
parents talk. It's not good for special needs. And then you go, okay, we'll mark that off the list. So Jesse Carpenter, who is a local comic, you
know
guys
Jesse,
all know,
yeah.
Shout out to
great
Jesse
guy. I will definitely put that out there. If you need a realtor who is amazing and treats you like you're the only person in the universe and is an amazing person, Jesse Carpenter is the best. And we basically funneled all the school districts we were looking into, and he found us all these places, went countless places. So he knows that, that's what when you have a child like that, you can't just move.
That's the priority.
You can't just
before
move.
How many
It's-
bathrooms and bedrooms?
Yeah,
Because my
Right,
middle
right,
daughter, my middle daughter, and my youngest, who's only one, but my middle daughter, I mean, we could put her in a swamp and she's going to be fine.
Yeah.
But you base it around that. So we ended up in Springfield, that has a great school district. Now we're in Delaware County, which has horrible school districts for kids with special needs, but Springfield happens to be very good for children with special needs. And we had some people who, had worked with us before and gave us that, so it's like, it's just, that's one of the things that you have to do that people don't think about is it's not just, it's almost like when you become a parent, it's not just, hey,
Selfless.
you get up and you go out. It's
Yeah.
the same thing moving. You can't just move anywhere. I mean, you got to find something. So there are great school districts. And when I say great, they'll work with you more. But the thing about the really good ones, too, is they're harder to fight because they're a little bit more.
Okay.
Well, they know they're good for
So
a
the
reason.
bad school districts like Philly for special needs, you can fight them and you can beat them down. Whereas if you go to a school district that is quote unquote good, if something's not going right, you're going to have a little bit harder of a battle because
they're a little more
they're
defensible.
loaded for bear.
I feel
when
like
it
it's
comes
got to be
to-
very similar to healthcare. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
doctors
yeah.
get into it, they want to treat their patients well, but then the system. So it's like I think the real issue is that I'm seeing the common denominator is the way we're funding these programs. Because other countries are talking like Canada, like why don't we have universal health care? Why are our schools based on the property taxes and not something that's funded differently or in a different way?
And it's you know very well. I'm not a political guy. I don't get into politics because I think it's all nonsense. And I think a lot of comedians are in that same centrist type. They're nuts on either side, but. As
But
much
those
as
are the ones making the decisions on where the money gets spent. Though.
but the thing is
comedians or politicians?
Politicians.
but the
Oh,
thing
yeah,
is
they suck.
but think of all like at the drop of a hat they can send $1 billion to another country for whatever reason at the drop of a hat.
That's happened.
Why not at the drop of a hat? Can't they say, well, let's just make sure all these kids with special needs get the education they want? Why?
Okay,
Why is
hold
it
on.
so easy to write a blank check for some conflict that may or may not have
Ukraine
anything
or
to do with
whatever.
us, but they can't write a blank check for our own kids in this country that need this education? Why is that?
I agree 100%.
Interests, right?
Well, it's the same
Interests.
thing. You talk about people sending aid there, and we have how many homeless do we have here? And here we're sending money elsewhere. I mean, the system like that.
Yeah, but I don't
Well,
like
I
homeless people. And what I'm saying is, but with the kids.
No, that's kind of where I was going. I was talking about like this professional sports team. Like this whole city went nuts when we went to the World Series, and they went nuts about this thing that is tough pill to swallow, but doesn't fucking matter. Like it doesn't matter who wins the Super. I'm sorry, like it doesn't matter who wins the World Series. It's not that important.
well, those kids in the third
But-
world country that are wearing
Those
Eagles Super
Eagles
Bowl
Super Bowls,
champion
okay,
shirts
they're
right
pretty
now, they're
hyped up.
loving it.
but like you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't matter.
It costs us money.
Yeah, what
It costs us money
the
to
parade
run the
A
after
whole
and all
section
that
of
stuff.
Eastern Europe that is wearing
Yeah.
That is wearing
2023 champs.
Yeah,
Jesus, these two.
Jalen Hurts.
But like, what does matter is like, there's. I mean, I don't know how many students in the school district of Philadelphia, or how many families experience what you experienced. Does anyone have an idea?
Yeah, well, that's
a
the
big
thing.
fucking. That's a huge fucking deal because you're
Squeaky
talking about
wheel
someone's
gets the
ability
oil,
to.
though.
It's someone's ability to create a life for themselves and live a life and learn these skills that you have to have.
Guys, I don't want to say anything, but are we changing the world right now?
Dude, we're on
pretty
the
sure
way.
Are
we
we?
Dude,
Like,
just don't
I
say
wanna-
I
anything.
thought
Just
I
let
was
it
coming on a
organically happen.
comedy podcast, but
Right.
it's like, are
No.
we fucking changing
We're
the
changing
world
the
right
world.
now?
Well, we gave you the monologue at the beginning. You did great, by the way. That shit was funny. But no, we are changing the world. Just don't tell anybody. Just let it
Yeah,
happen.
let it
organically.
happen.
This shit just got
Feel
real.
It's like the real world.
This feels like
Just
a-
got
No, but I
real.
mean, like that's because here's the thing: nobody does because that's the frustrating part. Is because you always get to the wall where it's like, oh, it's the system, man, and it really is, and it's so frustrating because then you're like, well, I'm just gonna go back to hamstering the wheel in it until I get amped up
Yeah,
again
but
about.
no one's also. The other thing is that no one's aware of it. A lot of people are not
Well,
aware
that's the
of
thing.
this.
Is like,
Yeah.
So we have like autism now. There's different things, but this stuff is not common knowledge.
Well,
I
and-
did not know that you had to like fight every year for a fucking education.
and it's
I had
amazing
no
because
idea.
we'll get stuff back to us from the agencies, like from the outside agencies and the insurance, saying, "Hey, it came back denied," and it's like, "Oh, it always comes back denied. You just have to reapply," and it's like. That's stupid. That's a waste of paper.
Well,
that's
I mean,
a waste of
what
everybody's time.
it is, you essentially have a child that is, for all intents and purposes, is probably never going to be able to take care of themselves. And your job as a parent is to try and find a way that they're going to be taken care of because you're not going to be around forever. And you want to set them up as close as you can and with everything because, it's not like having a child where it's like, okay, they're going to grow up, they're going to go to high school, they're going to go to college, they might get married, they might not, they are going to have an apartment, they might buy a house, they might. You're essentially have someone where it's like someone is going to have to take care of this person.
Yeah.
And I need to make sure before I'm dead that we set things up in a way. Like we talked about having a sibling that's an advocate, because that's what you want, because we're not going to be here forever.
That's right.
Right.
You know, and I'll be here longer than Jay, but
That's a true statement.
no, but
No, sit in it. Sit in it right now. Go ahead.
You're doing so
My
well.
mom's like, "Who's this Steve guy? Why is he on your podcast right now?"
no, but it is. It's like you want you're kind of behind the eight ball in the sense of, because let's get into the other aspect of it. The most delightful fucking children in the world. They are the most
Oh my god, my daughter's
delightful.
like the sweetest.
I mean, I think they know something that we don't know, which is all this shit that the worry is not there. Like all the shit that we worry
that's
about
the blessing.
that's what you learn from them is like stop fucking worrying about everything. But in that same sentence, we're worried about you because you are our kid, and we want to make sure that when we're not here, you have some safety net that's going to take care of you. And the safety nets that our governments, our school districts, and everything have set up for us are bullshit. So they're bullshit.
I mean,
Comes down to
I've always kind of felt, I've been, like we don't look after our children.
it's not an act of solidarity. No.
We're not taking care of our kids. We're
Well,
not.
and the other
don't
point,
do a
like
good
the
job.
other point you're talking about is like you also want to push the ceiling on what. You don't want people to tell you what they are and aren't capable of. So, like, as much as you're trying to prepare them for the after, you're also trying to push the ceiling and say, "Oh, you didn't think she wasn't going to talk? Okay, now she's talking. She wasn't going to get potty trained. Okay, now she's potty trained." So you also kind of want to give them the best opportunity to be the best version.
But
of
if they
themselves.
need that help, you want to make sure that help is there.
that's there.
Of
Yeah.
course.
That's
Of
what it
course.
is, and that is my point. That no, I don't ever count anybody out for anything, and I don't know what the future holds. But if they do need that there's something in place for them, because this world's not really set up for them. It's not.
Talk about
it's
it.
crazy. Go ahead.
Sorry,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, talk about a city that's all about underdogs in a certain way.
Yeah,
If the
yeah.
the Eagles and stuff. That's all I was gonna say. It's like fight for the kids, give them the
I don't
opportunities that
think
they
America-
deserve.
I don't think America would do a good job of fighting for kids. And I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever heard a politician say like for children with special needs. I don't think I've ever heard someone get up there on the debate stage and talk about education and working hard for
No,
people
until
with
you have
special
some
needs.
real hard ass who has a kid with special needs,
Right.
then you're going to see.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they've been there. I don't know if, a lot of, up until the recent future, a lot of these kids were put on the back burner.
They're slipped through the cracks,
It's
right? Yeah,
recent
they're
society.
combined out.
Yes, it's recent society. I mean, think of the Kennedys. I mean, they were lobotomizing kids with ADHD. So it's like, it really, I mean, in all honesty, it was like if you were a problem, you were pushed to the back and put her in a fucking room, and that'll be the end of it. We're now of a society where it's like, no, we want more for these kids. They can have very fulfilling lives, and we want to be able to provide that for them. It's not a situation of, well, I got these two kids and they're fine and they might go off and do that. And she's just, fine sitting at the kitchen table doing puzzles. No, we don't want that anymore.
Right,
We want you to
right,
go
right.
out and do what you want to do. I don't care what she wants. I don't have expectations of my daughter being the CEO of fucking, whatever. But I want her, no matter what, to be happy with whatever she's doing.
exactly.
And that's with my other two kids too.
Right,
Just-
that's every parent.
and that's what I try and always say to my kids is, I don't care what you do. I don't care what you do. Just make sure it's something that makes you happy, because we've all worked jobs that have made us miserable. I said, tell me what makes you happy, and I'll spend the rest of my life helping you achieve that. Because I don't want you going to some dead end job. I don't want you doing it. Just be happy. So with Mia, whatever makes her happy. Stevie, Daisy, whatever makes her happy. That's the whole thing. And it's like, I think before these kids were kind of like, well, that wasn't an option for them. Now it's like, no, I want her to be happy, whatever the hell she wants to do. It's like Mia likes cooking. She likes doing all that stuff. It's like, so immediately, I'm like, okay, who do I know that's in some sort of field like this that I can get her set up with maybe some little job where that's what she's doing. And she's going there and she's doing that, whatever she wants to do, you know? So it's like, you know, it's like, you just got to be an advocate. That's what it all comes down to.
Well, one of the nice things too is that you can go to school up until the age of 21.
Yeah.
Okay.
So because what ends up happening is like there are like kind of life skills divisions, they call it. So then as the kids are transitioning into adulthood, that 18 to 21 period is like in our school, we have a whole room that's set up like an apartment. So they learn how to do the laundry, and then they're doing the laundry for the practice jerseys for the athletic team, and they're learning how to cook, and they're learning, and they have a fridge, learning how to shop.
Expiration
and then they
dates,
potentially get in. They'll go work at Wawa for a couple hours. They'll go work at Weiss, and then they'll gradually get into where that can become an employment. So it's all about finding what they're able to do. So that 18 to 21 is a time period where the set now is to say how do they fit into society and how do they be the best.
When I was
version.
in high school, I don't even know. Do they do home economics anymore?
They're bringing it back.
Different
Yeah,
places.
family and consumer science is what it's
Okay.
called now. But yeah,
But
so
that's
you
what you were
still-
learning.
I got 0.
It was a very, it was a very
we're-
It was
important
an
class.
elective. It's an elective. It's
was a
not
very-
something
but
you
it-
have to take.
I
But
went
it's
to
an
Catholic
option.
school. There were no electives.
Yeah, there
But,
was no. Yeah,
but it
I
was
went to Catholic
important.
school,
Like
too.
you learn, I learned how to cook a lot. I learned how to like be in the kitchen.
Oh.
I learned a decent amount of stuff.
Why does your
from
food
that
suck
class.
so much?
Dude, you've never even had. Shut up. I'm actually a good cook.
No,
You
but you're. I
can't be a
mean, there,
good cook.
it's,
You
but
can't be
that's not
good looking,
being
funny, and a
standardized.
good cook now, dude. It's
I
upsetting.
mean, he's
Funny.
attractive.
It's disgusting.
I'm funny. I'm still
Sorry,
funny
I'm
nonetheless.
sorry, Jake. Please
But
continue.
no, yeah, that was a big class, and it seems like I think that more people should just know that in general, special needs or not. Know that if you cook your own food every night versus going out to get McDonald's, you're going to be healthier and you're going to have more money in your pocket when you're done. If you know how to do laundry,
No,
you know
I
what I mean?
think
Like
I think within the
that's
last
just a
5,
skill.
I don't want to say 10, but that's coming back as like a
Civics.
thing where they're like,
Right.
hey, these kids need to learn how to do that stuff, and it's a great class. Look, there's I don't want to get off on the school system, but I mean I work with a guy.
We already did that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We kind of. I mean, it's a comedy podcast.
Well, it's a podcast. We don't have to.
Yeah, it's all good.
Well, thanks for making me. Feel
That's why you're here, bud.
No, but I work
I was like,
with-
why are you putting all this pressure on me?
I work with a guy. I have a lot of pressure on me. I work with a guy whose son they brought a welding program into the school, and now they have these kids that are coming out of high school and they're being essentially drafted by these companies starting out at like 70 grand a year.
Yeah.
18 years old,
Yeah.
making 70 grand a year because for a half hour, 45 minutes a day, they go into a welding class.
Yeah, exactly.
They-
Right.
You know, when they lost all that stuff, that's why you got these people. But that's the thing. Like, I would love if my kids went into some trade. Everybody. So I have at least 24 friends who are in the trades. They're doing
Killing it.
great. They're doing
Killing it.
great.
Killing
They're doing
it.
great.
That's it.
Killing
I mean,
it.
if I go to another, this is my second home party. I'm gonna fucking shoot myself in the head.
Damn.
But I mean, they're doing great. I went the college route, and it was a complete heap
Oh, they
of
sold you a
horseshit.
bill of shit. Yeah, yeah.
You know, it was a complete heap of horseshit that I came out in debt, couldn't find a job, and these guys were working, and back then we're making $45,000, which was great
Which
back
was
then.
great
They
at
didn't have any
19 years
overhead. They
old.
didn't
And
have that.
now they're all getting ready to retire.
Yeah.
I mean, and they can literally. I mean, they've already got 20 years in. So it's like I think that's really the wave
Tech
of the future.
programs, tech
I
programs
mean,
are big.
like the guy I work with, his son literally has 3 companies right now that want to hire him, starting at 70,000.
Yep.
18-year-old making 70,000.
Yeah, my nephew.
a year.
We have a
nephew,
great
yeah.
campus off of our school, so the kids leave at 10 in the morning, and then the rest
Right.
of their day they're at the technical high school.
See, when I
we
was
used to call Votech.
Votech
back in the
or
thing.
BOCES.
Oh,
When
and
I
they
was
were all
in
the
high
dumb
school-
kids. Yet they're
When
all
I,
the
that's what I'm
friggin'
saying.
rich kids.
When
now.
they were in
right,
high school, it
exactly.
was like, oh, you can't read good, so you got to go. I know it's
Yeah,
well.
guess
You can't
what?
read well. I know that. But it was like, oh, you can't read well. Something's
You
wrong
don't
with you.
read too good.
And then it's like, you can go over there and learn how to fix cars or something. But then it's like, yeah, I'm killing it fixing cars.
That's what an auto
Yeah.
mechanic means.
Yeah. It's like,
So, oh my God.
I'm a plumber now, and I'm crushing shit.
Yeah, my nephew put together an engine when he was 12. We were kind of like, why would he go to
If I could do
college?
it all
Makes no
over
sense.
again, and the kicker to me is I like working with my hands, and I
We've
just
heard
got
that about
sold
you.
into
Good one.
comedy podcast. No, but I like working with my hands, and I would have loved to have done that, but I got sold on the bill at college.
What?
And
Oh, the college.
Well, you
oh,
talk
that
about going to
college.
Catholic school. I went to Catholic school, and they were not equipped to have special needs kids.
No.
We had a buddy of mine,
No.
Carl, who
They still are not.
who like wasn't like he was just. And when it came to studies, nothing. But you asked him to rebuild an engine, he could do it with his eyes closed.
Yeah.
And they were not capitalizing on that. That's what I think about my daughters. Like when I go into these meetings and I hear this, I'm like, I don't hear anybody talking about her strengths sometimes.
Right, and
too.
they're there.
and they're
Well, that's
there.
the thing.
Exist.
They don't with these kids is they are not the kids that are going to be the book smart kids, but they are more than capable of doing
Yes.
a whole nother gambit of things. But unfortunately, and you know that the way our school system is set up is even for me, I was not I think I'm an intelligent person, but I was not that. I didn't like school. It wasn't set up for me. It was set up for the kids who could read these pages, memorize these things, and take that test, and they did great. And it's like, that's why guys like me what were we good at? History.
Which
It was history, it was shop stuff, it was all the stuff that was more of like the storytelling, visual stuff and everything. It wasn't like, hey, memorize this.
Yeah.
Because
I was the same way.
probably had a mild form of
Yeah.
ADHD that was undiagnosed, and I couldn't focus on that.
I was the same way. I was in class, and I had a hard time focusing. I had a hard time holding my hand up and waiting to be answered. I would just blurt out answers.
I hate to break it to you.
I was getting in trouble.
Horrible.
I was getting in trouble for that stuff. But then I would go to woodshop, and like it was the shit, dude. My woodshop teacher, rest in peace, Charles Hessler. I reference that man every day in my personal life.
C. Hess.
He just he the way he taught and the way he was a teacher who affected my life. But like I could go in there and spin a lathe for and not even think I was working. You know what I mean? I was just doing something that I enjoyed, and I was doing the bandsaw and all these things, and it was fucking great. But then it was like, so you're gonna go to 4-year degree? You're gonna get your 4-year degree, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean,
because
it's
what are
like-
you gonna?
The whole time he's like, honestly, kid, your hands are whatever, but look at your fucking face. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
Just go
Have
take
you
your
ever
face
thought about
someplace.
ads for the Poconos?
Yep.
So anyway, we digress.
But no, the shop class was a shit, man. That was I loved it.
But that's
I
it. Well, that's
loved
what
it.
Carlson, the guy I was referencing now, he owns like a bunch of businesses. He has a garage. He's got like 5 kids. He's
They
living
work.
the
They
life.
work like 3 hours. Yeah, these
You know
dudes
what I
working
mean? Like
3 hours
he has
a
other
day,
people
just
working.
counting
He doesn't have to
money.
work anymore.
Yeah.
Well, Mike Rowe's a big the dirty
Yeah,
jobs guy.
nobody
He's
works
big on
anymore,
he's
yeah.
big on that one, right?
He's
Like,
become he was big on the whole society in general not working. And
okay.
well, that's I mean, we're getting way off track, but I mean
We are,
that's
but
the
that's
manufacturing going out of this country. That comes back to the politicians. That comes, that sent all of these manufacturing jobs overseas. And yeah, people stopped working with their hands. I mean, we built everything in the.
Does anybody even know how to sew anymore?
I do. My
Laney
dad
has a
taught
sew.
me.
Your dad taught
My
you?
dad learned to sew in the Navy. He was phenomenal at sewing, and he taught me to sew. So I do
Really?
know how to sew.
I learned how to sew in home economics. I can use a sewing machine, but
I don't know how to use a sewing machine.
Laney just got a sewing machine.
Really?
Yeah.
My wife's mom
My
was a
mom
seamstress.
knows how to sew. Oh, really?
Made dresses, yeah.
Dude, my mom,
I feel like that's
and
like
grandma,
the average person. If you went to the average person
No,
on the
absolutely
street
not.
with a button and a little hotel kit and said, "Hey, make this happen," how many people could make it happen?
My mom and my grandmother used to hem
It's like
my
ironing.
pants.
People don't iron anything because
Yeah.
everything's wrinkle free.
No, they used
right.
to hem they were that good. They could hem a pair of dress slacks, and those were like looking good. Like
Yeah.
No, I'm
That
not
shit-
excellent at it, but I can.
that shit doesn't
Yeah.
exist anymore. No, you're
My
right,
dad,
that-
yeah, he used to put patches in clothes and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But that was a Navy thing. That was, when you were in the military, they taught you that
Now,
stuff.
was he in the military while you were growing up, or was that before?
Oh no, this was back before the Vietnam War. My dad, who just passed away, was 80, so he got out of the service right as Vietnam was really hitting the fan, and they tried to get him to re-up. He was
He's
like,
like,
"Fuck
"Nah,
no!"
I'm
So
good.
he got out right as all of his friends got drafted. Because
Oh.
my dad was in a program in high school. They used to have programs like that too. It wasn't ROTC. It was something where you were legitimately in the military.
Right.
So he was in the military when he was like 17.
Because like you would go and do basic in between the summer of your junior
Yes.
and senior year, go back.
Oh,
to your
I didn't know they
senior
did
year.
So he got out, he was, and, he had the GI Bill and everything, and he actually went and got, he became a dental technician. He made teeth because my dad was an artist. So he was really good at that. But he got out before Vietnam, and all the people that, when he was in there
That
in high
avoided
school
it 'cause
that
they
were
were-
like, oh, you jerk off, they were all getting drafted, and he
right.
was
He's like, I seen some shit, and I'm
How
staying out.
much of you as a dad is because of your dad? Do you think? Is it more was it more of you do what he did, or was it like you learn from how he bumped his head? Like,
yeah. I don't,
Nice.
yeah,
I don't want to talk about
that's
it.
fine. No, you're good.
It's all
You're
right,
good.
man.
You're good.
That's all good. Dude.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't.
I get you. When my dad passed, I thought about it a lot. Like it was, it was a bit ago, like 3 years ago. But yeah, it was. We had a very different relationship. But like when you start talking about what he passed down to you, like, he's up there in the little picture.
My dad was the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
It's
can tell just the way you're done was like that, and that's got to be like it's like hearing how ardent you were about going after the needs of your kids and what you and that only comes from a place from someone who's learned how to defend their own. And that's
No,
something special.
he was great.
Yeah,
He was great.
Oh yeah,
It's huge.
Excellent.
That's a big one.
But I don't want to get it up.
I got you.
No,
I got you.
But yeah, he was a good guy.
And your wife too. I mean, she's like she seems to be like just a great. You guys seem to have an amazing relationship. That you guys always like flow well, or is there times when you have an opinion on something and she does, and you guys?
I've seen the relationship. I feel like there's a lot of balance there, right?
Yeah, but we're a
need
real
the other.
marriage. And I think they're the ones that last. Is you have to have two people that go, this isn't. I think most marriages end because people have some sort of fairy tale idea of marriage, and it's not realistic.
It's zero of that, right?
But when you have two people that are realist about an actual long-term relationship, as me and my wife are, is it's about 10% fairy tale, and then the rest is you got to put a lot of friggin' work into it. And I think we both put a lot of work into it. We're both great to each other, complete assholes to each other, have done horrible things to one another, in, out, upside down of the marriage. And it's like, but we'll always stand the test of time because one, we're almost too similar. If I were to do it over again,
I would not watch NYPD.
I would not marry her. No, she is. She's super tough, and I've always so I met my wife when I think I was 15, 16, and she was probably 15, something like that, around those age, and I knew immediately when I met her that she was the one for me. So I spent the next.
Was she like a neighborhood girl? Like how
no,
did you meet
she
her?
was brought down, but anyway.
Did you guys always want to have kids? I don't know if I've ever asked.
Oh yeah, I think we always wanted to have kids.
Did you meet in college or what?
No, we met
15,
when
16.
So what happened was Catholic school in Philadelphia, you had to go to your neighborhood Catholic school. That ended right before I went to high school. They opened it up because that's when the shit hit the fan with Catholic schools.
Yeah.
So you could then go anywhere you wanted to. So I went to Newman in South Philly, which my school would have been West Catholic because I was from Southwest Philly. She went to O'Hara, which is out in Delaware County, and one of my good girlfriends went over to O'Hara and then brought her down slumming one weekend, and that's when I met her. But we didn't go out. I pursued her probably for the next 8 years, something like that. Because
Really?
I literally loved her right away. She was just this
8
tough
years.
broad that, and she still is. I mean, she'll throw drywall up and tape it in with the best of them. 5 months pregnant on a roof, silver coat in the roof. I mean,
Rihanna, nice.
No. Here's my problem with fucking Rihanna.
I know. Here, let's
Okay.
go.
no.
So she did this with her hands and sang a medley of her greatest hits, and people went, "I'm so impressed." My wife was up on a fucking roof, silver coating, with the neighbors watching, going, "Yeah, she's doing pretty good." That's
Philly Rihanna.
impressive. Climbing a ladder with. And here's the thing:
Philly Rihanna.
I could have taken the 5 gallons of silver coat up, but I said, "Let her do it. Let her do it.
Let her do it.
Let her do it." I said, "You get that up there, baby." But no, she did. I mean, she's amazing. She was a house painter for so many years, and she learned all that stuff. I mean, talk about working with your hands. But no, she's a tough broad, and I
It's
knew
like
that.
sandpaper. Let me tell you.
So when we battle, it is it's epic battles. I mean, nobody has lost or won one of those yet.
Yeah.
You know, we.
See, my wife, yeah, well, we have we're in sync with the feeling, but because she's so non-confrontational, and I am like raised by women and like want to talk things out, like I am the total woman in the relationships, and she's the proverbial guy that just wants to.
Yeah, if I
we don't
only
have
had,
those all. I have to like force them out of her. 'Cause
I always
know
say
we need
if
to do this.
I wish one day to have my wife's balls. That would be. I wish to have those, but you know, she,
After the
That's
vasectomy,
good though.
it'd be an
That's good
upgrade.
though. So you have 3 daughters, and they're watching a powerful woman navigate this crazy fucking world.
demean
That's-
me.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
That's right.
I like that. Though. I
That's
like that.
right. That's right.
I like
No, I mean I'm raising 3 pretty tough chicks. If they're not able to handle themselves, I'll be very surprised at the end of the day because they definitely don't come from people, and we try and tell them that all the time. You know, as long as you give us all the information, we'll go to war for you.
Dude, God bless the guy that tries to date any of Steve's daughters. Could you imagine?
could you
just
imagine
having
meeting Steve?
as a potential father?
He's like 62.
Oh
like
my
walks
God.
Here's the
around.
thing.
Who the fuck are
I've
you?
thought about that. You know, I'm not going to be a dickhead. I'm not going to be a dickhead. But
You're gonna
don't
change?
don't be a fuck up in any way. Like seriously,
like
don't be a fuck
beyond
up in any way.
what would be
Because
like,
I will murder you. And
That's
I
just
say
it.
that like jokingly, but in like the realest way of I will murder you.
Yeah.
You're the guy. You are the guy who.
you ever
Like
see
I
the-
would have no problem doing 20 years for murdering
It's just
somebody.
Like, yeah, that's a true statement. I feel
that
that.
did something like if you did something that like I would murder you, and I would just say to my wife, I'm gonna go away for a little bit, and that's
good
just
luck.
is what it
Good
is.
luck with it.
I already have a feud with this kid across the street. I think he's 9.
I've already
Yeah.
loved this.
So
I
wait,
already
I
love
had
so
that
every
too.
night I come home from work and he's in his driveway and he's playing basketball, and I stop the car right at his house and I stare at him for 30 seconds.
You probably. I don't think this is
So
a
he
joke.
preps to go
Like,
buy
I
a
No,
think
car.
this
you
is
really
no.
do
You
this.
know the shit that I've done.
I do know this shit. You do.
And I stop for 30 seconds and I just stare at him as he plays basketball. And then I drive the 50 feet up and park my car. And then I get out and I come around to the trunk and I stare at him for about another minute.
Meanwhile, it's
Because,
a Prius,
know
so
he's-
it's not
you know he's
intimidating.
gonna
because
come.
he said
Oh, he said it.
he cursed towards my one daughter.
Oh.
And I don't like that.
Now, do you go talk to dad? Did you go talk to this?
Well, there is no dad.
Did you talk to the parents of the household?
No. I
You
fuck
don't
with
do
the
that
kid
shit.
100%.
You fuck with the kid. You know what?
He's like,
You know what? He spoke with the parent. You fuck with the kid.
No.
dude, you know
Goes to the
what?
source.
Well, here's what you hope. I didn't realize this on Instagram. There's a site called Kids Get Hurt. Have you ever seen this? And
mean-
you hope he ends up having a video on there where can you look it up real quick?
Yeah,
She
sure.
like kicks the
It's
ball,
like,
hits
it's called,
the rim,
it's like,
and
and
then
it's
hits him
like
on the
all
nose kinda
videos
shit.
of kids who end up getting hurt. It's like imagine him playing basketball all the
Yeah.
time. He sees Steve to get nervous. He throws a ball.
Well, I went
up,
over there
and
one
it
day.
hits him in the head, and he goes.
She told
like-
me he said something to her, and you know he's just an asshole kid. And I went
Yeah,
out the
kids
door
getting
and I
hurt.
started going over like cat a corner to the house, and he fucking ran in the
Yes.
house.
Oh, he ran
This
inside.
is
that
perfect.
little-
Let's watch this will be a nice segue. You can just imagine it's that kid in every one of these videos. And if you could, this is somebody just turned me on to this today, and I was
He's
like,
get
oh
hurt.
my god!
I feel like
Watch
this won't be
this.
around very long.
It's got 4 million.
We had a
You,
little
you
kid,
always
so
look
for-
at it and you wish.
This kid's just asking for it. That kid's just asking
share-
for
are
it.
people-
For
Now,
people,
what is this?
so for people at home, we're just seeing a kid. It's snow.
Trickling, right?
It's snow on the ground, and
But
there's
who
snow on the
like,
ground.
Who the
He's
fuck threw? Who threw that at that kid
I've
like
totally
that?
done this.
They knew he was going to get hurt.
so
set
there-
him
Now,
up.
yeah,
There's
we've
a-
hurt our kids, but like we didn't throw a huge
Yeah,
snowball
what's
at their
this
head.
one?
this
What's
was
one with the punch
yeah.
bag?
There's a kid. Yeah, there's a kid with just
that
standing in the
kid's
snow,
neck
and then they
looking
just
good.
hit him with. Then we hit him with it. Yeah, they hit him with a snowball. That's what we just watched. If you watch it, kids getting hurt. You want to see this one?
Yeah, that's what
All right.
It's like going through the combine. Is
He's
that
going through the
mini Jalen
combine. He's
Hurts?
jumping
He's having a
over
good
some
time.
stuff.
Going through.
Yeah,
We get him
okay,
through.
the attendant helps him out. Yeah,
Ladder
I work
drill,
here.
ladder drill.
I'm just a
So
volunteer.
far,
okay,
he's got,
okay,
he's got
he's
some
doing his
skill.
thing. He's doing his
Got some
thing.
skill.
He's
Uh-oh, I see a bag
Oh,
swinging.
there's the bag
Oh,
swinging.
he does not see the bag.
Yipes.
That is a kid getting hurt.
Shit.
But you know what?
Oh,
They bounce
Oh,
right
they
back up. They bounce right back up. My daughter just fell off of a bench chair right on her head, and her neck, it would have broke your neck. And I sat there and watched in slow motion. Her neck went this way, and she got right up, and I'm like, that was a broken neck in
Dude,
any other.
They say,
Well,
well,
you
they
don't
say, like,
say- don't
everybody's
react.
gotten their
They're
hands slammed in
malleable.
a car. Well, your bones don't form. They're like kind of like rubber.
She landed on her head and her shoulder like that. It would have broken your neck right in half.
That's
Well,
why
you don't
it's normal.
react. That's what you do when you see them eat shit. You just
We just so they're on a bouncy house, and the dad took a kid. He jumped up and then
Jeez.
bounced, and
Oh.
He
unfortunately,
did that on purpose.
he did. I think, and the kid
I
bounced
don't
off
know
like he
that
was.
he realized Newton's law of physics.
Yeah,
What's he doing to the other
Every
kid? He's hurting
action,
the other
boom.
kid too. Like he's hurting this kid.
Honestly, that's a diaper kid, though. We know
don't-
what that kid's about. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know
no
what I'm saying?
shirt, no pants, diaper.
Diaper.
Yeah.
Come on, we know what's
And
happening.
that kid looks like he's 3. So
Yeah.
that fucking diaper.
That's- what's happening?
It's like the 5-year-olds with a pacifier. That drives me fucking nuts.
Oh, it's
yeah,
insanity.
yeah, yeah.
Insanity.
Oh wow.
Dang. What a wonderful. Check it out. Yeah, kids getting hurt. I never thought I'd say
okay.
that ever just producing
The
podcasts.
best is,
Check
why
out
do you
kids
know?
getting hurt.
Why,
So I was sitting
You were
at
taking a shit
when I
and
went
you
to buy
got
the
on
beers
Instagram.
for us today. I went into Rebel Hill and Danny, the bartender,
sorry.
he runs a podcast about brewing beer,
yeah.
and we were talking about the podcast that we were doing, and then he was like, he said somebody's like, oh, I've been watching this site on kids getting hurt, and he showed me the thing, and we just kept watching like videos. I'm like, oh, I'm bringing this up
I
today.
I've actually have no videos, zero.
because I
videos of my
actually
kids
sent it
getting
to
hurt.
you
Yeah.
as soon as he got it. I
No,
said, like, it's
we've had
hysterical.
hurt stuff, but yeah.
Well, it's those natural things. They happen. It's weird now that people catch it. That's what makes
Well,
it
everybody's
suspect
video
to me.
and everything. I
Well,
mean,
that's true. Your caption. It's like America's Funniest Home
Yeah,
Videos.
I wish
like,
someone had my dad saves. I've had some really good dad saves.
oh,
I
I've
wish.
had amazing.
Oh,
saves.
never camera around for that shit. I mean, I've had some really good, and I'm looking around, not a single person around. And I'm like, I saved your teeth. You're welcome, and no one's
Right.
gonna
And
see
no
it.
one's
I've
Yeah.
had the
Yeah.
grabbing something from the cabinet like a glass and something else falls and
At-
you
and-
matrix that
Oh,
shit
yes.
last second and I'm like, did anybody
No one saw it.
see
No
that?
one cares. The
Nope.
kid didn't even see it. The kid doesn't even know what just happened. They're just
right.
like, okay, we're going outside
No,
now.
I've caught a few heads right before they hit concrete. Yeah.
yeah. I
That was my other dog. She never. That's the other thing with sensory stuff. She didn't know where her body was in space and time. So like
Yeah.
she would go under a table and stand
Oh, they
straight
do
up.
that, yeah.
And it would happen repeatedly.
I don't think that's an autism thing as much as it's just
just
a
a
fucking
parenting.
kid thing.
Well, that's true,
think
but
that's
they will
she
put their
does.
heads into
She
anything.
does not
about that
get
sound?
where she is in space
That
and
thud.
time.
That
Like when she's in a
sound.
pool,
Yeah.
it's kind of neat because when she's in a pool and the body's hugging her, we notice she would get so much more verbal and so much more.
Oh, look at that.
And so, like when you watch her in a crowd move, she's like an astronaut on a spacewalk. That's why people like make fun of the leashes. Dude, those leashes saved our life.
Well, no,
at
there's
that point.
you make fun of the leashes unless the kid truly needs that.
Yeah, well, that's
yeah,
just it.
You know,
Nobody's like
everybody wants to put judgment on people. It's like, and I do too. I mean, but it's like you don't know, and that's the thing. Like with us and and I think that's what taught me as being a parent of a special needs child is you don't know what the fuck people are going through.
No idea.
You know what I mean?
That's
just
You have
fucking
no
clue.
guide.
Be
So for you
kind.
to sit there and put judgment on the kid having to flip out and you don't know what the
Yeah,
hell
yeah.
those people are dealing with. And if you think like for some reason they're enabling that, they're probably not. Like you've dealt with meltdowns.
Yep.
And we deal with meltdowns on a whole nother level.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you think that I'm happy about this and I want to be doing this right now, like this is the
Yes.
last place I want to be. But guess what? We're all going through it. So
That's it.
fuck off.
That's it.
Yep, there you go.
I told a story the one time we had crayons at a Buffalo Wild Wings, and she pressed too hard, and the crayon, like the cap fell off, and she had like in her mind she lost her best friend.
That's
and
it.
She just
They will
watched it
lose
happen.
their shit.
And then everybody else is like looking at her like, "What the hell?" I'm trying. Billy Bob's over there trying to enjoy his garlic parm
Grand
wings.
slam.
Oh,
And
they're
I'm
so
like,
good, those
just-
garlic parm
And I'm
rings.
just like, relax. She's mourning right now, so just
Yeah.
for a minute,
Yeah.
she just killed her best friend. All right,
Yeah.
they just met too, so. But yeah, like they don't get it, and you develop a skin. I developed a skin.
Yeah,
but
it
I think
doesn't
some
bother me.
parents avoided it. We had a kindergarten teacher who told us that. Like we had a real moment where I was kind of breaking through with her because I was like thinking like I don't think Alicia's getting what she needs. She's like, listen, this is not my first rodeo. I'm like, well, it's mine. And then all of a sudden
yeah.
we had this moment where we kind of broke through and she's like, my son is autistic and she's like, and he was older and she's like, I kind of sheltered him. I didn't take him out because I didn't want
Yeah.
to be. And I think
Nah,
there's
you
so
can't
many
do that.
people
No.
that's why we mainstream her and as many activities as we can, but we're also so grateful for the cheerleading, the soccer, and the baseball because she can also just be in an environment where we're not worried about how other kids are perceiving her or whatever, and she can just be and be herself. And I love that, but I also want her in as much regular stuff as possible because this world is not going to bend to her.
Yeah,
She's got to be able to
100%. When we went to
Steve
the
said.
mainstream school, like we think that was the best move for us because
Yeah.
now she's just in, and it's like she's just another kid.
Yep.
And because they also pick up traits of shit they don't have.
Yep.
When you send them to special needs schools, like
Yeah.
it does happen. And now she's kind of in this school more mainstream. It's all mainstream, and it's like. She's making friends and she's doing her thing, and people are looking out for the kids that are, like we talked about earlier, that are good with it, are jumping right in. They're looking out for her. Hey, Mia's here, everything and it's
Nice.
great. It's like, hey,
Yes.
that's the way
There's
to do it.
programs like Best Buddies where they match up kids with that in the school so that like they have somebody, and if they're ever seeing them lost in the hallway, then there's someone to go get them, and like
okay.
you're
Nice.
creating awareness.
There's
for
kids that
those
are just
kids.
instinctively good at that.
That's
They're
it.
just that's
Laney,
their-
my daughter's Laney's 100%
And that's what
like
you
that.
hope for. You hope for those
She is
angels
that-
out
she's
there
the
because
helper.
those are the people that are kind. Those are the people that take care of other people, and those are the people that
Right.
won't take that job.
And the world
that-
needs those
Is it-
people. The
Is
needy
there
people.
for special needs father? Is there like, and I know because I've heard a lot from Jay, but still, question to both of you: is there stuff that you're really pumped about with goals? I know you mentioned working on reading stuff like that with Steve. Is what are your goals? Like, I mean, they have to be whatever you guys think, but like, what are the goals that you're really excited for them to get to? Is it just kind of like a day to day, just every single day you see growth?
For my daughter. Like I think I see so much potential in her and what she's really able to do versus what the school is asking her to do. Like
Right.
she taught herself to read really young, but she's got a low reading comprehension score when they test her, and I'm like, she knows, she just doesn't want to tell you.
That's
Yeah.
And I can't wait till she finds, like, she's so good at things. Like, there are, like, things that's why I always try to talk about. Like, she's so great with dates. Like, if you give her a date, she'll tell you what day of the week it is. Like,
Right.
it's like
That's
she's got
insane.
such
That's insane.
insanity things in her. She was redistributed so oddly. And it's not a way that the world accepts, but I'll tell you what, there's parts of her that the world needs.
Huge.
And I can't
Absolutely.
wait till she finds the part of her that the world needs her for.
Right.
Well,
so that
and
she-
that's
you
the
know.
thing. It's like they're living in our world. They would be
Yeah,
perfectly
yeah,
fine
they're-
in their world.
Yes.
Like we're saying, you don't fit into our
What the
world.
shit we do, what we find acceptable.
But these kids and everything like that, they're here for a reason. If we get to a scientific, if we get into biological, we get into just evolution of human beings, they might be far fucking evolved from us.
Probably.
You
I
know,
would say probably
and
they
we're
are.
going, well, you don't fit into our world.
Right.
So they're, like I said earlier, they're the happiest goddamn kids in the world. If that's the one thing we could learn from them is they don't give a shit about the dumb stuff that we worry about. And that's like sort of a release at the end of the
That's
day.
an enlightenment.
They
That's-
don't
yeah.
care. My daughter does not care about, if someone is being like almost the ability of if somebody is being mean or a little sideways towards her, she doesn't even fucking get it.
Yeah.
That's almost like a defense mechanism.
Yes.
To be like, well, almost like, and should I be going up to her and go like, hey, Maya, that person's a real asshole and was being
Yeah,
mean
yeah,
to you.
yeah.
When it's like she didn't get it, she don't give two shits, and that
Does she
the
not
next
get
one.
it, or is she truly listening to what they're saying?
I
You know
mean,
what I
she-
mean? Like,
I mean, I'm talking about the sideways stuff.
Right,
I
I
mean,
get
if somebody
you.
comes up and punches her in the face, she obviously knows she was punched in the face. But if somebody's just rude,
Yeah.
or
No,
like that shit just goes like, hey, whatever.
I meant that
don't-
honestly, like in terms of what's really matters. Like that person said something to me, I didn't get it because it didn't matter.
Well, what
Doesn't
like,
matters,
you know what I
and
mean?
that's the thing is what
Yeah.
matters to them
Yeah.
matters more than probably anything will ever matter
Right.
to any of us.
Yeah, it's very
Yep.
interesting.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I that's my hope. My blessing and hope is that when my daughter gets to middle school and things like that, like those things, go over. But she's reading a lot of graphic novels and she's starting to try to like script some of them, and she's ahead. So like we're getting in trouble because she's saying stuff like
Right.
she's saying stuff in class she's not allowed to say, and it's kind of
Yeah.
disruptive. So
Oh.
the teacher was saying to us like, we're worried about all the other kids. I'm like, well, she's always gonna have that.
But
with
it's
the
like
other
really, if you
kids.
take a concept like that kind of goes to what I was saying is that's an our world type of thing. It's like,
Yeah.
think of the movies we watch, what we
Yeah.
read, and this. It's like you saw this, you read this, you did all this, but don't say that here.
Outside
What's
influences,
the
right.
concept of that? We invented that.
That's
Right.
right.
Yeah.
We invented
Exactly.
of of it's fine to find enjoyment from reading this, listening to this, watching this, everything, but don't say it here.
Yep.
It's
very good
but
point.
really think that's so weird.
Yeah.
We invented that.
That's right.
So she's now trying to. We're trying to put her into that
So
box
convoluted,
of
yeah.
what we gave you for enjoyment, but don't say it out loud.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it doesn't make
It
sense.
really does.
Jay,
That's what I'm
That's what
saying.
You seem like
really-
a great teacher, where it's like you would welcome things like outside. You would be able to deal with it. You would understand. Where
Yeah.
my experience with teachers, like maybe some of you, would be like, I just need to teach this. I don't really care what you're bringing in. Whereas you're like, I feel like, that's to your point. Like this is clearly out in the world. Like this is the stuff they're bringing into the class.
It's almost like if you're watching network TV and they're like, well, you can blow this guy's brains out, but don't say shit.
Yeah.
That is a
right.
construct of our society that we invented, that if you said that to a child with autism, they would be like the most real answer of they have no fucking clue what you're talking about.
zero
Like,
sense
why
to
is
them.
it all right to blow this guy's brains out on Channel 6, but don't say the word
It's
shit?
great because they can't the bullshit. They can't.
Yeah.
They don't,
fuck with
and
bullshit.
that's
That's
why I'm
great.
saying
That's a
they're more
blessing.
evolved than us, because that
blessing.
whole sense of like this nonsense bullshit that we these parameters that we put on ourselves and all, they don't have a concept of that, and it's just nothing but truth.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like it's nothing but truth, and you want a brutally honest answer. Ask a kid with autism what they think of your haircut. And they'll fucking
They will tell you.
And they
I don't
will
have
tell
the
you.
confidence right
No,
now.
no,
I
right.
do
Yeah.
not have the
they'll
confidence.
be like,
at this
I don't
present
like
moment.
that at all.
Yeah.
You look stupid.
You look
like,
silly, you look
and
young
it's
and
like,
stupid, yeah.
so what was better? Me going, yeah, it looks good. The same answer I'd give you 100
That's
times.
right.
Or the person that's like, oh, that's garbage.
Yeah, you look like a
that
dope.
you
You want
look
the- yeah.
like garbage. It's like it's really, what do you think is more better for society? I mean, it really gets into it's like they don't fit into our constructs of society. So we said, well, you have a learning disability. Well, maybe we all have the learning fucking
Yeah,
disability.
maybe they've got to figure it out.
We
So
have
anyway-
to. We have to. Unfortunately, wrap. We're
Oh,
at
So
an
yeah,
hour
so
and a
Steve
half.
Bickel.
I'm sorry.
I think that would maybe have been your
I
last
was
word.
waiting to see the.
I didn't
I
think
know.
many
Well,
things.
here's the thing. It was so good.
Yeah, yeah,
I,
it was
couldn't-
so
I was like,
fucking
it's
good.
so
Yeah, yeah.
good. I can't stop it.
So good. Yeah, all right, last thing. You got any shows coming up?
Yeah,
I believe I have. Wait, I have.
But this
some,
won't drop till this won't
We'll
drop
drop for a
till
little
April,
bit,
May.
but like just social media is going to be up on the
Yeah,
screen
social media
already
is
for you, buddy.
April, May. Well, I have a bunch of shows coming up, so my social media, I'm sure, will be tagged somewhere, and I have a bunch of shows coming up, stuff with Jay, and so yeah, I got a lot of stuff coming up. I'm pretty happy with the way comedy's going right now. I think everybody's doing pretty good.
Yeah, I
so
totally agree with you.
it seems like the world's opened up. It's good for comedy. It's good for good comics, and I'm glad everybody's doing their thing. So yeah, just check out my Instagram and my MySpace and my SGs. And it's Steve Bickel at AskJeeves.com.
It's a hard account to keep right now.
Yeah, very
paying
difficult.
for all the
I pay
website
for
fees.
everything.
Yeah.
And my wife says stop. But so I got a lot going on, and I'm pretty happy about that. So people can find me. They need to find me.
Okay,
Heck yeah.
Yeah, dude.
signing off. Seriously, Dad.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.
Seriously, Dad.
Seriously, Dad.
Seriously, Dad.
Seriously, Dad.
Dad.
Seriously, Dad.
Seriously. Seriously.
How you doing? This is Neil Wood from the Cult of Us podcast, speaking on behalf of Drop 10 Media Network, the network you're currently listening to. Make sure to check out all the other podcasts on the network. You can go to drop10.com to check them all out. Make sure to like, subscribe on everything that you see Drop 10 on. We appreciate it. Go to drop10.com now.
This has been a Drop Tent Media production.